Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of Straight Up Show Podcast. I am your host, Calvin. Hey, y'all, it has been a crazy year. A lot has been going on. And if you've been living under a rock, we have been going through some changes, not only in this country, in the United States, but all across the world. But today we're going to focus about what's going on in our nation today. A lot has changed. This year, we have a brand new president, and he has definitely made an impact. At the time of this recording, it's been about 9 months since he's been in office, and already he's made some impact. So today we're going to talk about some of these things, and we have two special guests today. Today, my co-host, he is no stranger online. He has definitely become one of my good friends. We've talked, and actually, this is his first time seeing me visible on camera. A lot of y'all too, but today we have one of my special guests today. He is my co-host today. Help me welcome Joey from TikTok. Joey, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good today, brother. Thank you for having me on. Again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be in something like this, because I feel like it's very important to have these conversations with people, not only that are living in the, in modern day America, but also that have been part of the government itself.
Yeah. And like I said, I thank you for coming on. I had to have him because Joey has definitely, he used his platform on TikTok to talk about just racing cars, but he talked about, asking people, why do they vote for Donald Trump? And it has not been pretty. A lot of people have been very vocal, but Joey has a unique story. And Joey, for those who don't know you, kind of give them a quick background about who you are and where you're from, and what made you get on these TikTok platforms to talk about, hey, what the injustice is going on in our country right now.
So yes, thank you for that. So a little background on me is I was born in Mexico. I came here around the age of 7, and fast forward a couple years later, we have a program called DACA, which is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, thanks to the Obama administration, and that is fortunately what allowed me to be here and have a legal work permit to be able to build my life here, right? To be able to be here and not be worried, not be looking behind my back, because at any time anything could happen to me, right? So that's what brought me here. That's how I'm here today still. And right now, under this current administration, we face a little bit of danger because Kristi Noem has said herself that we're not here with any sort of protection. And I'm trying to use my voice so that these conversations get brought up, and that maybe, hopefully someday, there's some sort of reform for people like myself that have been contributing to the system legally for well over a decade now.
First off, let me just say how proud I am of you, to see your growth, to see how much you've been through. And even despite we've seen the ICE raids, and if you're a listener of the show, you heard about the injustice happening to all American citizens who have been deported, have been detained by ICE. So it's not just certain people who are here undocumented; they're going after American citizens too, which is definitely unjust. So Joey and I, we definitely talk about. He's live almost every day. But today we have a guest. He reached out to us. He heard one of our Instagram lives or our TikTok lives, and we did an episode about South Park and how about they made fun of Donald Trump and his administration, which, I had to invite people, say, hey, were they wrong? Were they right to make fun of him? But this person reached out to us, and it has been a privilege to research him, hear his story, and see what he's all done for the state of California, which a state that has been the focal point and a thorn in this administration's side. So without further ado, help me welcome former California State Assemblyman Mike Gatto. Mike, thank you so much for doing the podcast today.
It is great to be here.
Yeah, man. Hey, like I told you, hey, thank you for reaching out. And you heard the South Park episode, and you kind of agree, say, hey, I can be just as straight up. So before we get straight up with Mike Gatto, can you tell us about who you are, where you're from, and a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Mike Gatto, everyone. And for those I haven't had the pleasure of meeting or, watching a video with so far, or seeing me on another news outlet, I was born and raised in Los Angeles. And in 2010, I was elected to the state legislature, the California state legislature. In California, our districts are big. My district was 500,000 people, centered in a place that most people have heard of, Hollywood, California. My district was the Los Angeles neighborhoods of Hollywood, Silver Lake, Los Feliz, right centered around there, plus the cities of Burbank, Glendale, La Cañada, La Crescenta. And I served 4 terms in the California state legislature. I was known for introducing legislation on everything from bringing back classic license plates for car enthusiasts to really in-depth solutions to try to solve the continuing problems we have in the state with homelessness and the continuing problems we have in the state with our state finances. Since then, I put my political career on hold for a little bit because I've got 3 kids, but I will be back someday. And I'm a regular feature on the news. So what I do is I go on Newsmax, which is a very pro-Trump network, and I give the California Democratic perspective. And I'm on a news media outlet usually 3-4 times a week. So if you like seeing me here, look for me other places as well.
Yeah, to see you on Newsmax, like that's when I saw you on Newsmax, that's kind of like Joey going up against people who like Trump. Like I don't see how you do it. Like what's been in your experience is like tackling pro-Trump supporters on Newsmax?
Well, here's the thing that I believe in, okay? First of all, if you imagine, well, first of all, I think our society is too siloed. What I mean by that is we tend to only hang out with people that believe the same things that we believe. We also pay attention to social media that reinforces those messages. But if you think about your family and you think about your church, you think about, just buddies that you might have gone to college with or something, people really have a variety of different viewpoints. And if you're one of those people out there, the show's called Straight Up. I'll be straight up. If you're one of those people out there who doesn't talk to a relative because they have different political views, or you stop being friends with somebody because of who they vote for, I think you're part of the problem. I think what America needs more is for us to go talk with other people, because there is a lot of stuff that we might agree on. There's a lot of stuff we might agree on. Like right now, there's Democratic Congress members and there's Republican Congress members who are saying release the Epstein files, right? So I mean, there's a lot of stuff that people agree on, right? And it's super, super important for us to talk to one another.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. I see Joey shaking his head too. Joey, what you have to say about that?
No, 1000%. I believe the reason why I went on this platform to use my voice to talk specifically to other people that disagree with my point of view is to try to see if we can get some sort of middle ground. And believe it or not, sometimes we can't get there, right? But these conversations need to happen, both with the people that you're surrounded by, because I don't believe you should cut them off, right? Because if you do, I think that sends them down the path where they seek other people that think just like them. And that's how you get into an echo chamber type of mentality, which can be very dangerous on both sides of the spectrum. So I definitely agree with you on the fact that if you have family members, friends, you should be able to have a civil debate. And I know debates can sometimes get heated. We're humans; we tend to go off of emotions, right?
Yeah. Well, I was just saying another reason why I love going on any show, including ones that have different opinions than mine, is because it keeps you sharp, right? If you really believe in what you believe in, and you really think your position is right, you should be able and willing to debate anybody anytime. I don't care how crazy they might sound. I don't care how different they might believe. You got to stand up for what you believe is right. And so, I go on any network, and sometimes I agree with them if I think that, my party's wrong. Sometimes I disagree with them, but I try to articulate why they should agree with me. And I have fun.
Just kind of jumping right into it. And this is like a yes or no question, and you can go in more detail about it. When it comes to the Republican Party right now and the Democrats' response to the Republican Party's actions, do you think, it's like yes or no, do you think your party is fighting hard enough?
No.
And why?
And I don't think they're fighting right enough, if that makes sense. I think that Republicans right now are better at talking to the average American than Democrats are. I think that if you look at the last election, right, it was like for so many months, the Democratic Party told people, hey, don't believe your eyes. You see Biden on the news and you see him shuffling and stammering but no, he's okay. Everything's great. And then it was like, oh my gosh, we got to replace Biden, right? And I don't think that was, I don't think that earned the Democratic Party too many credibility points. And then, you look at issues like inflation, right? Everybody, they go to the supermarket, kind of pissed about the prices. And the Democratic Party was like, well, they're not that bad. And, this, that, the other thing. And I just don't think that type of messaging works.
With that being said, it doesn't work. Like when it comes to your party, you said they kind of not haven't been open about everything, but like one person in your party, in your state, someone you're very familiar with, has been a thorn in this administration side, and that's one Gavin Newsom.
Sure.
Do you think that? Just give us a little bit your opinion on Gavin Newsom. Have you worked with him? I've seen that he has taken after some of the things you've worked on.
Sure.
But give us your opinion about what Gavin Newsom is doing. Is it enough, or just give us your overall opinion about what's going on with him?
Great question. So I know Gavin Newsom well. I served in the legislature when he was lieutenant governor. We stayed in touch. I have his cell number. He has my cell number. We've talked a few times during his governorship about various issues, and I've gone and seen him about various issues. I mean, for me, look, this is what people got to know about Gavin. He is one of the most gifted politicians that you'll ever meet. And he has made a career of having a very good weather vane. He knows where the winds are blowing and he heads in that direction before anybody else. But I'll tell you, like, what I think has been a little bit weird about how he's responded during the first 9 months of the Trump administration. He started by saying, I'm going to work with him. Then he said, hey, by the way, I'm not as progressive as people think. I'm starting a podcast, and I'm putting on the podcast all these young men who were the big backers of Trump, Charlie Kirk and all these other guys. And I'm going to talk with them, and I'm going to bro down, and I'm going to, I don't know. And then now all of a sudden it's back to, well, gee, I hate everything that Trump does. I think the thing that is in common with those three things is why the Democratic Party is losing. We keep reacting to Trump. That's it. He floods the zone. He does a news story every day, something that he thinks is going to score points with the American public. And the Democratic Party is knocked on its feet, and we just react and we say, Trump, Trump, Trump. And that's great. That helps Democrats win elections in Democratic districts with Democratic voters. But you know what, folks? In swing states, it just looks like he is leading on any issue. It doesn't matter right or wrong, but he's putting out an idea and we're reacting. And whenever you are reacting in politics, you're losing, folks. You're losing. I mean, it's like the schoolyard. If someone walks up to you and says, you're ugly, and all you're saying is, I'm not ugly. I'm not, like, you've already lost. You've got to take the initiative. You've got to be the one that is out there, hopefully not telling people you're ugly, but going out there and talking with people and putting forth ideas. That's what I don't see happening in the Democratic Party right now.
If I could insert myself into this, do you think Gavin Newsom is actually doing enough to be active instead of reactive?
No. I mean, like, let me give a couple examples of things that I think the Democratic Party could lead on right now. Donald Trump is saying the cities are rife with crime, and I'm going to do something. I'm going to put in the National Guard, and I'm going to clean up the cities. Nothing would have stopped Democratic politicians from doing that months ago. I'm not saying call in the National Guard. I'm not saying be extreme. I'm not saying crack down on people. I'm not saying go into, neighborhoods that have traditionally been picked on by police and put a heavy police presence. But nothing would have stopped Democrats in these states from starting a litter cleanup, from starting some more community-based policing, and really helping people that are victims of crime. The second thing that I think is just a no-brainer, and Joey, this is for you, right? The country is screaming for immigration reform. Everybody thinks the system is broken. You can't talk to anybody who thinks that the immigration system is serving people. I think you can sum up most Americans' beliefs by saying a couple things. There's got to be some rules. You can't just let in everybody. And you don't want to let in people who are criminals. But there are so many hardworking people who want to come here. They want to work their ass off. They want to have a good future for their families. The country needs them. We need new ideas coming in. We need new workers. This is what America's always been about.
Right.
And yet, how is it that there's 200 something Democratic Congress members, not one has come out with a meaningful immigration reform package? Because I'll tell you, there would be a lot of support for it. I mean, if you came out there and you said, we don't let in enough people from Mexico, we don't let enough people from Germany or England or Scotland or Nigeria. We just don't let in enough people. And there are brilliant people from Nigeria who want to come here. There's brilliant people from England who want to come here, brilliant people from Mexico. Let's give them a path. But in exchange for that, let me give you some red meat Republicans. We will say that At this point forward, if you violate the law, yeah, it's like it's on, right? But I don't see that type of proactive leadership.
No, and this is something that I talk about on the daily, how I believe that we should have some sort of immigration reform when it comes to the process being very well vetted. And for example, we have the blueprint for that, like myself in DACA, that you have to be vetted. You can't be a criminal in that program. Same with like the Visa U that some of my family members are under, that, they took, they were abused in some sort of way, where a police investigation was also brought up, but yet they were vetted, they get fingerprinted, they're on the system, right? And we can get into this conversation where people claim that undocumented immigrants are coming here to quote unquote take their jobs because they're being able to work under the table, they're being able to take this less than minimum wage. But I'm like, okay, so let's focus on the fact that if we get them through a process like amnesty or sort of vetting that gives them an actual bargaining chip, that they can go to these businesses and these people that are hiring them when they're like, hey, you can't pay me less than a livable wage because I'm here documented. That would bring even more money to our
drives up wages for everybody. Yep,
exactly.
And before we go to commercial break, why do you think, like, not just like with this administration, but like, why do you think California is always the state that people just like to pick on politically? Like, why do you think that is?
Because we do some wacky stuff here. I mean, look, half of it is jealousy, right? People are jealous of the beaches and the weather and the beauty and the beautiful people and the stars. And then half of it is our bullshit. I hope I can cuss. I know this is going on radio. Maybe you'll take that.
Be yourself.
Okay, but half of it is just we put forth some crazy ideas that we think we're leading the country, but in reality, it's like, nah, that's just not a good idea. And people don't like that. So I think as a California politician, it's something I'm always like mindful of. You can't take yourself too seriously. You got to understand that the rest of the country does not view us in a positive light. But at the same time, there's lots of good reasons to be a Californian.
Because I know that especially on Joey's lives, like in my own personal ones, it's like, hey, we're Gavin Newsom is speaking for us, but then like, oh, we hate him at the same time. I'm like, it's like the country likes Gavin Newsom, but then like the people who live in California, like, hey, well, y'all don't really know him that well. So it's just like, like it's like tit for tat. Which one can we pick? Is he like the hero, or is he like, hey, it'll do right now?
Sure.
Yeah. So, y'all, we have former California State Assemblyman Mike Gatto, and we have a special guest, Joey, as well. We're going to have a little bit more on the other side of the break. Make sure you stay tuned to the Straight Up Show podcast.
I think straight up means to be able to speak in a way that is straight up, to be honest, and to speak your truth.
Raw, uncut, you know what I mean? It's blunt, straight to the point. This is what it is.
It's just a place to be open and honest, and that's what I appreciate most about it. And it provides a place for community members to come together and just be straight up with each other about things that are going on in the world, because it affects all of us.
Unfiltered, raw, with all the cursing that Calvin does.
Straight up is just being real, telling it like it is, being you.
Being solid, being who you are, no matter what it is, no matter what situation you're faced with, right? This is who you are. It really speaks to me, saying it is what it is and it ain't what it ain't. Straight up.
Voting. It's a right, a privilege, and a responsibility. Many have made the ultimate sacrifice just so we could have the ability to vote on what we believe is best for us and our community. So, we here at Straight Up ask you to do your research, let your voice be heard, and be proud to say, I straight up voted.
All right, welcome back to the Straight Up Show podcast. I am your host today, Calvin. Hey, today we have a special guest. He is my co-host, Joey. If you don't know Joey, he is definitely gaining his platform on TikTok. Joey, he is a DACA recipient, and he has a great voice too. So, Joey, once again, before we get started, thank you so much for being my co-host today.
Thank you for the invite. I really do appreciate this. Thank you.
All right. And today our special guest is former California State Senator. Sorry, I said Senator. My bad. I hope
That's
one day, right? One day,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Maybe.
right. That's right.
One day, maybe, right? Former California State Assemblyman. There we go. Mike Gatto, thank you so much for joining the podcast today.
Great to be here.
Hey, are you planning on running for office pretty soon? Or I know you say you're taking a break right now, but
Yeah, I mean, look, my promise to my wife was always that I would be present when the kids were here, and I think that's the right thing to do. My dad worked 3 jobs when I was a kid, wasn't always around, so for me, it's the right thing to do. But I will 100% be back. I believe that politics is such a if you treat it right, it's a calling and it's a gift for the people to entrust you, for 500,000 Californians to say you're going to make the decisions for us. Such an honor, and yeah, absolutely, I'll be back someday.
and if y'all have not heard him in the first part of the show, he definitely sounds very political, and he's definitely hitting some points. Like I told Mike, hey, if you come on a podcast, it's only one rule: you gotta be straight up and real. And just right off the bat, he holds everyone accountable, and that's what we need here in politics, but also on the show too. And Joey's the same way. And Joey, you want to bring up a topic of like basically what's going on right now in D.C., how the Trump administration wants to target homelessness and crime in DC. So you got a question like what do you want to ask and what's your issue on that too?
Well, my question is, I wanted to bring up again, since he worked in California and is very he said very close with Gavin Newsom, has his phone number in his phone and whatnot. I did want to bring up a question about the 2019 homelessness ballot initiative that influenced Governor Newsom's approach to that, and I was wondering which core principles from that work do you think still matter today in tackling today's systematic social issues?
Great question. So look, my approach on homelessness is different from a lot of people. And I know that some people on the left might get pissed, some people on the right might get pissed, but I'm going to tell you straight up what I think. Homelessness is caused by many reasons. There's not one reason. If you went out there and you surveyed 10 homeless people, there might be, a young kid who was kicked out of the house because his parents disagreed with him. There could be an abused wife who left because she was being abused at her house. There could be somebody who lost a job, or a veteran who doesn't really know where to go. But then you have this other stack on top of that, where people often call the acute homeless or the non-economic homeless. And my understanding is that people close to the problem, there's something called a homelessness census that happens every year. And what it does is the federal government pays cities and counties to go out there and count homeless people and to write down various characteristics that they're going through. It's a constant debate. What percentage of homeless people have a mental health problem or a substance abuse problem? But the numbers, even in cities that are very liberal, very progressive, when they send their team out to count, numbers somewhere around 70% have a mental health or a substance abuse problem. Nobody, I think, cares. Like, if you're in a business district in a city and you see a mother sleeping in her car because she left because she's a battered woman, you're a piece of shit if you give her shit. You're an absolute piece of garbage if you care that she's sleeping on the car in the street. But if you own that business and there's somebody who is high out of their brains and takes a dump every day right in front of your business, you have a right to be pissed. I talk to people all the time who live in lower middle class neighborhoods in Los Angeles. And I'll never forget, there's one woman I talked to, she came here from Africa, her family came here from Africa. She lives in a neighborhood in Los Angeles, heart of the city. She moved there because it was across the street from a park and she wanted open space. Houses are not big. She wanted a place to push her 2 kids, and it's a park. Her taxpayer dollars pay for it. But the park is filled with a bunch of dudes doing drugs all the time. And it's like, who has a greater right to that park? I would submit the mother does, but I would submit everybody does. And the problem with what I call the acute homeless is that if you are in that park taking up other people's space, then you're infringing on them. There's something they teach you the first day at law school. They say you can dance around all you want, and you can go like this while you're dancing. You could do little fist bump, but the rights of your fist, they end at my nose, meaning you can't start messing with somebody else. So I think what we need to do in our cities is try to address the acutely homeless, the people who have serious problems that are not tied to economics. Because right now, if I go up to you and you said, hey, I just lost my job, I'm falling on some hard times, you might try 20 things. You might try sleeping on a friend's couch. You might try going on public assistance, getting what's called welfare, getting what's called food stamps. You're going to try all these things, but you're not going to immediately go and start taking a crap, on the subway. But that's the type of thing where when I say it's not an economic problem, that's what I mean. And too many politicians treat it as an economic problem.
And if I could insert myself into this topic, I 100% agree with you. And this is why I have such a problem right now with this administration, is because they're defunding programs that would benefit mental health treatment, right? They're defunding that to the tune of about $10 billion. And if we're going to talk about mental health and address, things that are going on with the Second Amendment and the protection of that, we should not be defunding programs like this that would benefit the greater American nation.
Yeah, I agree.
And with that being said, like just to not, and that's what people realize, especially with me, like being a journalist, we're supposed to be apolitical. It may not happen on Newsmax as much. It's supposed to be apolitical. That's what I was always taught in school: be apolitical as much as possible and be bipartisan. But this administration, it's, I'm an American to where I believe that, hey, if I voted and the vote didn't go my way, still acknowledge the president or the person in office, right? Sure. And the thing is that this administration has done some evil things, like Joey just said. Like, he's defunding these programs that can help people. I even said on his platform, on his lives, that I don't know how it would feel to be a veteran or active duty member right now, and I'm over here kicking out a homeless veteran. You know what I mean? How does that feel to be the active military and you're kicking off somebody that served the country just like you're doing too? The approach is wrong, right? And you gave solutions to what happened, but like just overall, just if you can give your straight up opinion about what's your opinion on this administration and the things they've been doing and the tactics they've been doing to this country?
Well, it's almost like their tactics are designed to not necessarily to get a result, but to spark a debate. You look at what happened just Friday, where Trump announced that he was putting in place an executive order to change voting in all the states. Now, the president can't do that, folks. You cannot wave a magic wand and say, I'm going to make state law in 50 states. That's for the state legislatures. It's not for the executive at the federal level. But again, it's like, we talked about this earlier, Democrats kind of like fall in this trap of like reacting to it rather than kind of anticipating it and then owning the issue themselves, which we could do. But I think like he's doing a lot, just to gain a headline. What I think is most fascinating is the Republican Party right now, they control all three houses, right? I mean, it's like, there's real capability to get legislation through both houses of Congress and be signed by the president. The margins are narrow, yes, blah, blah, blah. But it's almost like he's not doing the congressional route with things other than like the big, beautiful bill, because he doesn't want to fail. He doesn't want to go out there and have to do the compromises and talk turkey and get in depth about the issues like we're doing. He just wants to get a headline and get people to react. And that part I disrespect, right? He's got some ideas. He's got some ideas that I think are very interesting. And I will be the first to admit, it's a great test to see if someone's being real with you when you go to your debate opponent and say, tell me what he says that's right. Tell me what she says that's right. And, I'll be the first to admit there are some things he's doing that are decent. But I also think that he's a showman first. And he's going out there and getting headlines and, and we're being led around by the nose.
Do you think that this is going to be, I guess, and because we're live right now, right? It's going to piss some people off. But when it comes to the Epstein files, what do you think we should do with this? And do you think a lot of his actions right now, are just distractions from the public asking or seeking these files? Do you think they're actual files?
I mean, so my opinion about Epstein is like twofold. So clearly he was he was an affiliate of foreign intelligence, possibly a tool of foreign intelligence. Clearly there are people in those files that are deeply, deeply compromised. And if the word got out, it would definitely end some careers. That being said, I think most of the speculation, it's one of those things where I'll bet you 75 or 80% of what's in there or who is in there is known. And the other question that I ask people all the time is, you realize that if there was one Epstein, there's 20, 30, 40, 50 more. There's somebody right now who's doing equally horrible things, who is equally an asset of foreign intelligence, who's trying to compromise Americans right now. And, I don't want the focus on just this one guy to stop our quest for the truth in all matters, right? I think like people should be out there wondering and asking, who is the Epstein right now? Who right now is being compromised and who right now is doing these horrible things? And because I guarantee there's somebody, there always has been. But I mean, look, I have no idea whether Trump is in there or is not. My belief is, though, that at the end of the day, you gotta try to get the American public to trust you, whether you're Republican or Democrat. And if everybody's saying release the damn files, they gotta release the damn files.
Not to move too far away from that, but before you ask that question, you were addressing the fact that they do control all three houses in there right now with Donald Trump in office. So I was wondering, with your time in office in today's hyper partisan climate, is there anything from your time in office that you think could help leaders work together across the aisle?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds so corny, but go drinking with members of the other party, have dinner with them, get to know their families. I mean, with some exceptions, you realize that they're human beings, just like us, right? And that look, there's some people who, I always tell people, I speak at a lot of classes. I still do that. And someone will always raise their hand and they'll be like, what percentage of politicians are just pieces of shit? Right.
Yeah.
And I'll say, look, number one, I'm a lawyer and a politician. So you throw in used car salesman, I got the trifecta, but I'm a member of two professions that everybody hates. But I would say in politics, right, roughly a third get in politics for the right reasons. Roughly a third get in politics for the right reasons, but then get seduced to the dark side. And roughly a third are just awful people to begin with. Now, of course, if you're good with math, you've added up that 2/3 at any given time are really not doing things for the right reasons. But if you can find the people that are really there to actually do good, and you can convince that middle cohort, you'll get stuff done. And that starts by talking to members of the other party.
Man, I tell you what, Mike's good. He's good. If I was in California, I definitely would vote for him. Hey, we want to make sure you guys stay tuned. We have a little bit more with Mike Gatto, former California State Assemblyman. Make sure you stay tuned to the Straight Up Show podcast.
Tired of the same old boring clothes? Want to support your favorite podcast but don't know how? Well, you're in luck. The Straight Up Show podcast store is finally here. In our Teespring shop, you can find all the merch that tells the world you're keeping it straight up. From t-shirts to masks to even leggings, our store has you covered. Just visit straightupshowpodcast.com and click that merchandise button. That's STR8 upshowpodcast.com.
It's Monday, and you know what that means. A new artist hits the Straight Up stage for another edition of Music Monday. Tune in to hear talented music artists from all over the world. Artists like Victoria Silk and Jonathan Valenzuela. Come experience some of the best that music has to offer and see why fans want more. Artists like the Rap Assassin 5. It's Music Monday, only on the Straight Up Show podcast. Are you an up-and-coming artist and would like your music to be featured on the show? Don't wait. Send us a message right now.
Everybody out there, I'm Sultan Salahuddin from Southside. Season 3 is out right now on HBO Max. Make sure you tune in, and make sure you tune in to the Straight Up Podcast Show whenever you are online. Peace.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Straight Up Show podcast. I am your host, Calvin. Joining my co-host today, Joey. He is a TikToker. He is gaining traction for his debates about politics. And today we have a special guest, former California State Assemblyman Mike Gatto. Mike, once again, thank you so much for joining. Joey, too.
Thank you for having me on.
All right. So, like I said, Mike, you have a lot of hats that you wear. You're a father, you're a former politician, you're a lawyer, but people don't know that you're actually an author too. So, tell us about your book that you've written, and kind of go more in detail about that, if you don't mind.
So I wrote a book about a very sad topic, one that if you're from Los Angeles, you're from California, you probably know about already. I have the horrible distinction of being one of the only politicians whose father was murdered, or whose family member was murdered when I was in office. November 12, 2013, my dad was shot in a home invasion robbery in his home. The crime is still unsolved. I wrote a book about it. I wrote a book about it because after 10 years of the crime going unsolved, I had met a lot of victims of violence. I talk about how, I go to victims marches and stuff, and I had met this woman whose son was shot in her front yard, victim of gang violence, and she held him as he died. And that crime was also unsolved, and she believes that the police could have done more. And I talk about those stories because I think that too many crimes go unsolved, too many murders go unsolved. One of the points I also make in it is to not think about me, but to think about all the other victims out there. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. When I was in office, right, and I did anything where they knew who I was. So let's say I went to a local restaurant, or I went to the DMV, or I, did anything with the government particularly. And it's like, it's Mike Gatto, who's chair of appropriations, third most powerful guy in the state. Like I could get a pretty good gauge if they treated me like a piece of garbage. Like, damn, how are they treating the public? And that would happen every once in a while. And so when my father was killed, I looked at the level of service, for lack of a better word, that the LAPD provided me. And I was shocked. I was blown away because I had one of those moments where it was like, man, how must they treat like members of the public? If this is how they're treating me, this is how they're treating my family, how much they treat members of the public. And after my dad's case, you had that case in South LA where there was a guy who had killed 30 women in a small block area. And it's almost like if they had just knocked on doors, they probably would have found this guy. And there was DNA and all this stuff. And but they kind of just were like, at least people in the public thought that they did not do that much. And I think that there is something to that. I mean, look, there's a lot of people in all police forces who work their butts off, and a lot of people, and I say this in the book, lots of people, lots of detectives at LAPD, they're really good people. But there were some moments where, it was really, really rough. And I felt like they, did not treat me right. And so then I just got this idea, I want to write a book for all the victims of murders out there, family victims, to tell their stories and to talk a little bit about mine. And so that's what I did. The book's called Noir by Necessity. It's available on Amazon or wherever you get a book.
Audible too, by the way. I wanted to throw that in. You can listen to the audiobook. And so I did have a question on this. You having championed DNA transparency and privacy as a lawmaker, how is your perspective on genetic evidence evolved throughout the years, and what realistic steps do you think DNA science could take to help solve your father's case and other cases like it?
That's a great question. I mean, because I'm a big believer in privacy, right? But the reality is, privacy is probably a thing of the past in our country. People don't know this, but there's a company out there that has downloaded every single picture on the internet, and they could track you wherever you have been. Somebody posts a picture on social media of you in a restaurant, you're caught on in a camera driving through an intersection. I mean, we already are there. There's an artist, my understanding, in New York who scrapes gum off the sidewalk, and he does a DNA profile, and he makes a 3D rendering of your face based on gum that you spit out. This can happen, right? This is how they'll reconstruct the face of someone who lived, 20,000 years ago by just a little piece of their tooth, right? So we are in a place where there's very little privacy. And so one of the things I wrestle with is, how do you try to protect some degree of genetic privacy, but also make sure that people who are arrested for the most heinous crimes do have their DNA tested so that we can try to solve other crimes? It's there's a lot of tension there, but I think we have a decent balance where, it's only the people arrested for felonies that get tested. And then, they go in a database. So if they do a murder or rape, then we can find out.
After you yourself seeing the challenges that victims and victims' families face while navigating the justice system, what reforms do you think we should prioritize to ensure families are heard and their cases don't go overlooked?
Gosh, how long do we have? I mean, there's a lot of things that I think we could do better. It starts with not just adopting the CSI mentality. The CSI mentality is, man, there's going to be some whiz bang, technological something that's going to solve this case. There's going to be camera footage, there's going to be DNA, and boom, we're done. But the reality is we have a lower closure rate, meaning less murders are solved than before the advent of DNA. Think about that. In other words, it has done nothing. It has done nothing because in those days, the police would actually go around and talk to people. They would say, what did you hear? What do you know? Did anyone come home that night sweaty? Did you see anybody running, right? And I feel like that has just been lost. And by the way, there's a lot of detectives who say the same thing. Like those days are gone and those days have been lost. And so just doing what we can to try to solve more of those crimes and giving the labs and the police departments the necessary resources to do so, that to me would bring some justice for families.
Why do you think that some of these politicians, especially this administration, they're scared of like God bless these kids' souls. This year has been 7 mass shootings at schools, and 2 have recently passed away who were children. Why do you think they're against gun reform?
I don't know. I talk about that a little bit in the book. The thing that makes me, and again, this show's called Straight Up.
Yeah.
The thing that makes me think that gun reform is often held up as something that it's not going to be is right now, and I want to make sure I get these statistics right, but the point remains whatever it is. Right now, there are 400 million guns in the United States of America. There's 300 million people. So even if you banned all guns right now from 2025 forward, and you somehow overturn the Second Amendment, there's still 400 million guns in circulation, enough for every man, woman, and child. So there's a big problem here. And people talk about if we just banned assault rifles. Well, you can't even define an assault rifle, right? I mean, does it look scary? Is it, what makes an assault rifle in order? It's very hard to define. I think, as Joey talked about earlier, he alluded to it, very important point. Mental health, mental health, mental health, mental health, sense of community, sense of community, sense of community. Again, there's no one formula for somebody who shoots people, but it usually falls into people who have despair or people who have mental health issues. And if we could address those things, we'd be a lot better off, folks.
You definitely have been very vocal. You've been very straight up, and I like it. My question to you is that I think just going back to just seeing how passionate you are, seeing how passionate Joey is on his TikTok lives, I think that as someone who is not in politics, who isn't just a regular American, I think we just wanted to know that we can trust the people we vote for, right? And you started off the show saying that Democrats aren't doing enough, your own party's not doing enough. Of course, the Republicans are doing the most. In your own perspective, right? Not just your party, but just in politics in general, what do you think can happen in 2025 and going forward? How can people earn the trust of a government back? What steps do you think they can do to earn this trust back?
So I'm going to answer that and then I'm going to flip it. Okay. So the first thing that politicians have to do is be more authentic and be more real. That's why I love the title of the show. And that's why I try to be straight up. If you look at what the most popular politicians of 2016, with all due respect to Hillary Clinton, were Trump and Bernie Sanders. And it's because they say whatever the hell is on their mind. And in an era of mistrust that started with the Kennedy assassination, then the RFK assassination, then Watergate, and has continued all the way to this day, the one thing people seem to trust, whether you're saying messed up things or not, is if you're authentic. That's why Donald Trump is so popular. That's like, well, he's saying all this crazy stuff, but hey, we can trust him, right? Which is, it is what it is. But then I'll flip it. Okay, so for voters out there, besides just voting, why don't you do something as a test for your local politician? And that is this: give them a call and say, I want to meet with you. Everybody has a platform. Everybody has a group. You could be a member of a church. You could have a podcast. You could have a TikTok following. You could just be somebody who is passionate about an issue. Give your local politician, give your state politician, give them a call and say, hey, you know what? I want 15 minutes of your time. I'll come to your office, wherever it is, and I want to talk with you about this issue. Send them an email. If that politician gets back to you, then they're probably a decent person. If they hear you out, hopefully you have a relationship and you have the start of an open door where you can talk with them about the issues that matter the most to you. That's the only way, folks, that politicians know what is important to Americans. It's the only way that government works, is to be heard, not just at the ballot box, but to actually reach out and talk to them. I tried to take all meetings with people who asked hard in a district of 500,000. I did answer every email that I got. I got over 50,000 a year and I answered every one of them. That's what politicians should do. That is the bare minimum.
It's 2028. I'm going to just play along with me, all right? Hey, Mike, it's Gavin. I just won the race and I want you part of my cabinet. What do you say?
Oh, who would turn that down? Nobody in their right mind would turn that down.
So, do you think that Gavin may run? And if he does, would you join his cabinet?
He will definitely run. I don't know if he's in the ranks of front runner yet. 2028 is a lifetime away. What I'll tell people is, you remember how fast the AOC rose? You remember how fast Pete Buttigieg rose?
Right.
There could be somebody who's not even elected yet. They're going to win the Iowa lieutenant governor race next year, and that person will be talked about as a presidential favorite in 2028, right? So I think it's really hard to predict, but he's got a tough road because of what you said about people hating Californians. But of course, yeah, anybody offers a cabinet position, absolutely would take it.
That's good. And can you address your haters right now? Because we're getting some peaceful comments in the section right now. Like, how do you address people who, especially you go on Newsmax? Like, how do you address the haters and the negativity when it comes to like the things you believe in when it comes to politics?
Best thing to do is laugh with them. If they say something funny about you, laugh. I mean, tell me I wear too much hair gel. Okay, like whatever I do. I mean, I'm guilty, right? You want to tell people that they have stupid opinions? Okay, I mean that's fine. Like, let's keep talking, but just don't take yourself too seriously. That's the best thing to do.
Mike, full disclosure, I didn't know who you were until Straight Up told me about you. Did some research into you and your book and whatnot, and just talking to you, man, you're a likable guy. I don't know who would have some negative things to say about you unless you're going up against their own policy beliefs. But genuinely, I just want to know what's next for you. Is there another book in place? Is there new policy initiatives or even mentoring the next generation? Because again, you're a father now. I myself am a father too. And I believe it's very important to keep on educating the youth.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. So I'm toying with the idea of a new book right now. Topic's quiet, low key, but if I do it, it'll come out in a year. It's about a very important issue that I think is important for families. The thing that I do is I do believe that no matter what, if you do believe in public service, you got to keep giving back. And that's exactly what you said. That's going and talking to high schools and talking with them about how to be effective advocates about what they care about and trying to give them exposure to politicians so that they don't hate everybody and they realize that, like we bleed and we're human and, everything like that. So it does start with the next generation. It's keeping people involved. And for me, it's an honor and a privilege to keep doing that, no matter where I am in life and no matter whether I'm in office or not.
And then a little follow up to that. Is there a reason, or are you planning to be more active on social medias? Because we live in a digital age where places like TikTok, places like Instagram, your voice, again, I mean this, it's seriously so refreshing to hear somebody like yourself. And the fact that it's hard to find content of yours, man, I really would love for you to be,
I know.
Be more outspoken.
So I have heard that from a number of people. I got a call from an agent in New York who wanted to place me on all these things, but he's like, you got to do something more on TikTok. I wish I had the time and I wish I knew how to start. I kind of feel like it's like if you didn't learn how to throw a curveball when you were 12, you can't learn when you're an adult. And I kind of feel like that with TikTok, but I realize I got to get out there. I mean, look, I am very active on X and that's where most people come to me for my content, but I know I got to get on TikTok too.
Brother, they're loving you right now. They're shouting you out. They're being informed right now. They're telling people who you are. Yeah. So I mean, Joey's right. You gotta get yourself out there, man. And like, before we conclude, like I said, can you give us your X handle and how else can people find you on the limited social media that you do have?
Yeah. So I mean, look, my website is MikeGatto.com. My last name is Gatto. MikeGatto.com. There is a little section there of like fun videos and stuff that I've done. My X handle is just x.com/MikeGatto. You can Google me. You can, and by the way, if you want to email me, I still answer all emails because I'm a glutton for punishment. So find my website, shoot me an email, and I'm happy to stay in touch and give you my straight up opinion on any issue.
And speaking of straight up, before you leave, right? And like I said, there are people watching right now. And there are going to be people watching this podcast. I want you to speak to us like a politician, right? As you know, the country, the overall attitude of the country is split right now, right? The feeling of neglect for some people, the feeling of empowerment for some people. But if you're speaking to people who feel helplessness and feel like that we can't trust the government and that they just have an overall just distinctive what's going on with the country right now, I want you to speak to the people of America, like, about the current state of our country. What would you address to them about, hey, it's going to be okay or whatever? Just give like your final message on the podcast. And I want you to speak to the American people.
Okay, so I'll tell you three things. The first one is, believe it or not, there have been other stages in our nation's history where it has been just as bad, and we have somehow gotten through together. There were times in the 1850s, before the Civil War started, where there were actually near beatings to death on the Senate floor. So we haven't gotten there yet, thankfully. There's a lot of bad feelings in DC, but we're not quite at the level of things right before the Civil War. So I guess that's one of the bright sides. The second thing is the tide comes in, the tide goes out. Just a couple of years from now, things can be very different. Hold on, just maintain your sense of self and get involved. I said, talk with your local politician, reach out to them, doesn't matter what party they are, ask for a meeting, send them an email, make your voice heard, not just at the ballot box. And the third thing and last thing is it starts with us, right? We can feel really disempowered at the federal level or wherever, but if you have a strong sense of community, if you feel like you have a good support network on your street, in your block, in your neighborhood, if you start a nonprofit about an issue you care about, that's a profound way to do good. And so there's many, many ways to do good. Politics isn't everything, like we think it is, but it's not. Community is everything. That's the most valuable resource.
It's a great answer. I don't know how else to follow that up. That's a great answer.
Yeah, Joey, I'm with you, man. Like Mike has definitely said a lot. He has definitely been impactful. Hey, Mike, I want to invite you back because you've been straight up. You've made it. You made it. You've been straight up. So I hope you went. I want to extend the invitation to come back on the podcast.
I'd love to.
All right. Hey, guys, that is the end of our show today. I want to thank Mike for coming on. Mike Gatto, former California State Assemblyman. He came on the show. He definitely was real. I talked to a lot of politicians, y'all, and he kept it real. I felt that what he was saying was very genuine, right, Joey? It was very genuine. It felt very straight up, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, his answers were spot on. I don't think he needed time to think because this was his proper, straight up answers, right? That's why I appreciate somebody like him, and I would love for him to be more active on social media because we need voices like him that can deliver a straight up message and give people straight up answers.
So there you have it. Hey, and guys, you're welcome. Like I said, hey, just keep doing what you're doing. Like I hope to see you in politics. I'm gonna keep in touch with you. Joey, thank you also for being a co-host. Y'all, give it up for Joey. Joey did a good job today. If you notice me, I didn't ask a lot of questions today. I wanted Joey to actually ask the questions because I want Joey to, just like Mike, I want you to be more active and have these platforms because you all are making a difference. Joey, you're making a difference on social media. Mike, obviously, you're an author now. You're talking about the things that really happen to everyday people. You know what I mean? And then you're in politics, and then it happened to you too. So, Mike, Joey, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. Hey, y'all, this isn't the end of the podcast. Make sure you go to our website at strutupshowpodcast.com. That's STR8upshowpodcast.com. There you'll find today's episode featuring Mike and Joey as well. And then you see our previous past episode about immigration. We had immigration lawyers, Cynthia Santiago, Carla Costas, immigration lawyers, all things about what's going on in today's society. That's StraightUpShowPodcast.com. Also, if you want to be a supporter of our podcast, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/StraightUpShowPodcast 318. That's patreon.com/StraightUpShowPodcast 318. Until then, that's the end of our show, but there's only one rule to our show. You got to be
straight up.
All right. See y'all later.